Welcome to Chemistry Tutorial 360. Today we are going to learn how to balance chemical equations with polyatomic ions, right? This is sulfate, which is polyatomic ions. This is hydroxide, which is polyatomic ion. This is ammonium, which is polyatomic ion. Right, so how to balance this type of equations? Okay, in case of balancing this type of equation, you have to consider the polyatomic ions as a uh, as a unit, right? As a one unit. Okay, so how to? There are some rules, and that I want to explain by practicing some examples, right? So I can balance this reaction in just four steps. So how can I do this? Okay, to balance this reaction in the first step, I have to draw a table like this, right? Okay, so if I draw a table like this, I'm getting two parts. One is left hand side and another is right hand side. On the left hand side, we have here one copper, so I have to write. In the second step, I have to write the number of atoms and polyatomic ions. So here we have one sulfate uh, polyatomic ion, and here we have one ammonium, right? So let me write that ammonium. This is one, and this is hydroxide, which is one, right? On the right hand side, we have here one copper, and here we have two hydroxide, and here we have two ammonium, and here we have one sulfate, right? Okay, now in the third step, I have to compare the number of atoms and polyatomic ions, right? Here on the left hand side we have one copper, so on the right hand side we have one copper, so copper is balanced now. But here we have one sulfate, so sulfate is balanced now. And here we have one ammonium, but here we have two ammonium, so the number of polyatomic ions ammonium is not balanced. So to balance the ammonium ion, I can multiply here by 2, that gives me 2. Remember, if you multiply by something, then this something will come before this ammonium, that is here. So you have to place here 2. If you place here 2, then the number of hydroxide ion will be changed, so you are getting 2 hydroxide ion. So here you have to write 2 hydroxide ion, right? So now your ammonium 2 hydroxide 2 is balanced. So you can say that this is the balanced equation. Okay, let me show you the second way to balance this reaction easily, right? So for this I have to erase this portion. So okay, how to do this? Copper 2 plus, right? This is sulfate plus ammonium hydroxide, right? So here you are getting this 2 plus will go with this negative wedge, so copper hydroxide, right? So copper hydroxide 2 minus, this is 2 plus 2 1 minus, so and these 2 hydroxide must come from this compound, so you have to place here 2, right? And this ammonium will go with this, so you are getting here ammonium sulfate, right? And ammonium sulfate, and to balance this formula you have to place here 2. This 2 ammonium must come from this compound, already this compound has 2, so you can say that this is the balanced reaction, right? Okay, let me take another example. I hope this example will help us to to this situation more quickly. This is calcium plus this is water, and we'll get here calcium hydroxide and hydrogen, right? Okay. To balance this reaction, I see that on the right hand side we have polyatomic ion, but in the left hand side we don't have polyatomic ion. So in this case I will draw a table like this, right? And in the left hand side I have here one calcium, and I have to consider this compound like this. Here we have two hydrogen, and here we have one oxygen, right? Okay, but since the left hand side doesn't have any polyatomic ion, we have to consider the right hand side like this, right? So I have to write here one calcium, here we have two oxygen, and here we have two hydrogen, plus here we have two hydrogen, that is we are getting four hydrogen, right? So now I have to compare the number of atoms. So here we have one calcium, so calcium is balanced. Here we have two hydrogen, but here we have four hydrogen, so hydrogen is not balanced. So to balance the hydrogen, I can multiply here by 2, that gives me 4. So these 2 must come before this hydrogen, that is here, so I have to place here 2. If I place here 2, the number of oxygen will be changed, that is we are getting here 2 oxygen, right? 2 oxygen. Now we have 2 oxygen, 4 hydrogen, 4 hydrogen, 1 calcium, 1 calcium. So this is the balanced reaction. I am going to show you the second way to balance this equation. I think it will also be helpful in your exam hall, right? So how to do that? Okay. I have to write water like this, HOH, right? I can write water like this, HOH. So now I have to draw a table, and here we have one calcium, and here we have one hydrogen, and here we have one OH. And okay, on the right hand side we have one calcium, right? Here we have two hydroxide, and here we have two hydrogen. Okay, to balance this reaction, what can I do? Here we have two hydrogen, but here we have one hydrogen, so I can multiply here by 2, that gives me 2. And if I place here 2, the number of here these 2 must come before this hydrogen, that is here, so I have to place here 2. If I place here 2, the number of hydroxide ion will be updated, so I have to update it my hydroxide ion, that is I will get 2 hydroxide ion here, 2 hydroxide ion, right? So 2, this is 2. Now if you compare the number of atoms from both sides, everything will be equal, so you can say that this is the balanced equation, right? Okay, let me take another example so that we can understand these things more more smartly. That is, this is barium hydroxide, this is barium nitrate, right? This is barium nitrate, NO3 2 plus sodium sulfate. Okay, we are getting here barium sulfate plus sodium nitrate. Okay, so to balance this reaction, what will I do? At first I will draw a table like this. Then I will count the number of atoms. Here we have 1 barium, here we have 2 nitrate, and here we have 2 sodium, and here we have 1 sulfate. So let it write it here, 1 sulfate, right? On the right hand side we have here 1 barium, here we have 1 sulfate, and here we have 1 sodium, and here we have 1 nitrate, NO3, that is 1, right? Okay, to balance this reaction I have to compare the number of atoms or polyatomic ions from both sides, from either side. So this is barium, so barium is balanced, nitrate 2, nitrate 1, so nitrate is not balanced. I will balance the nitrate later. Here we have 2 sodium, but here we have 1 sodium. So to balance the sodium I can multiply here by 2, that gives me 2. These 2 must come before this sodium that is here, so I have to place here 2. If I place here 2, then my nitrate will be 2. So here I will write 2 nitrate, right? Okay. Now our barium is balanced, our nitrate 2 is balanced, our sodium 2 is balanced, and sulfur is already balanced. So you can say that this is the balanced reaction, right? So thank you for viewing this video. Be well.